What's going on, guys? Unknown Player here, and today in this video we've got a lot to talk about. Trials of the Nine and a bunch of official info we now have from Bungie finally. We'll also be talking about the raid and an exotic power weapon you can get from it, some endgame activities, the future DLC content, and something really cool I want to show you at the end of the video, so make sure you stick around. But let's begin with Trials of the Nine, a bunch of info we can officially know now. The page for your clans actually went live today and details some info about Trials of the Nine very vaguely. So of course this page details basic experience you and your clan can earn together in certain activities, so Crucible, Nightfall, Raid, and Trials of the Nine. There's also Oathkeeper score to Nightfalls and the Raid specifically. But if you go to the weekly clan engram section, you can see down the bottom there, it says the Crucible engram requires a single win, the Trials of the Nine engram requires a 7-win ticket. So there you go, I guess it confirms that tickets are still going to be a thing in Trials of the Nine, and you still have that kind of 7-win ticket where you go through, win games. Obviously we know there are going to be some kind of massive changes to Trials, but this appears to be not one of them, and it's going to work in a pretty similar fashion to Destiny 1. Now the interesting thing here is that 7 wins in Destiny 1 meant nothing, you needed 9 wins to fill out a card and go flawless, and whether you had losses on that determined if you went to the Lighthouse. Now obviously there were boons in Destiny 1, so that basically boosted your 7 wins to 9, but in this version it seems 7 wins might be the maximum on a card, or it could still be 9, but 7 is like a basic standard version to guarantee a win and standard rewards, and that could be to do with meeting the emissary, which we know is a challenge, and then maybe 9 wins is going to be the more difficult to obtain flawless achievement like in Destiny 1. But we still don't know if boons are going to exist in Destiny 2 that give you free wins. So 7 wins might be the standard version, or it could be the super hard to get flawless. I kind of doubt that, because the way it's here kind of makes it seem like 7 wins is the standard basic version. But I think it's safe to assume that seeing as it is Trials of the Nine, 9 wins is probably going to be the equivalent to flawless, and you go to the Lighthouse or do whatever is equivalent inside Destiny 2. Now, in terms of the dates and information about Trials, we do actually have a lot of information. Bungie basically laid out a roadmap for the entire month 1. So as we already know, the Leviathan raid goes live next Wednesday on the 13th of September. Then the Friday Trials goes live. But the mode is actually going to be on Countdown, so the basically search and destroy mode, attack and defend the objectives, on the map Eternity. So that is the Crucible map for the very first Trials. Also, Xur is going to return with a selection of exotics, so he's going to be, of course, dotted around multiple planets, and he is going to arrive next Friday in addition to Trials of the Nine. And like I've been saying in my videos, try and save your legendary shards, because that is actually the new currency where you buy exotics from Xur. No more strange coins. They're basically replaced with legendary shards. Try not to infuse absolutely everything and just blow through them, because you're going to need them from Xur next week with his selection of exotics. So we can also get a bit of information about what's going to be happening when Trials of the Nine goes live next Friday. So Mark Noseworthy tweeted out, the agents of the Nine arrive at next Friday. So there you go, there's going to be multiple agents. Obviously, it's not just Xur, he is one agent. But the fact he says agents means there's going to be multiple members of the Nine showing up into our game. And I'm guessing this means it's going to be a Trials of the Nine vendor. Now, the fact they both show up on the same day could be some kind of connection, because there are 2 agents of the Nine showing up on the exact same day, one of them giving you exotics and the other one giving you access to this competitive mode, being Trials. So there could be a connection between these 2 agents, and maybe it's a similar Xur type character, but it's also quite possible that this female voice announcer, who we know voices all the matches of Trials of the Nine, could be the one actually showing up. But either way, it's going to be similar in fashion to Brother Vance in the Reef, how he is the main vendor for Trials of Osiris, but this time in Destiny 2 is going to be some kind of member of the Nine, a new one as well as Xur, essentially being our Trials of the Nine vendor. So next up, let's talk about the raid and a raid exotic power weapon you're going to be able to get once the raid goes live. Now, of course, we already know about the Leviathan raid. It's not really a secret at this point. We've seen concept art like this, and even this part of the opening cinematic, which does kind of tease it and hint this on the way. But I'm not going to spoil the details of what's inside the raid of the bosses, but we, of course, know the raid is definitely involving this giant Leviathan thing, which is basically a world eater. So after you complete the campaign and start killing random Cabal enemies, eventually you're going to get a drop called On the Comms. Now this is a completely random drop, just simply dropped after time. And this is going to be the first step of this quest for this exotic raid power weapon. Now this is going to require you to return to Nessus and recover communication ciphers from Red Legion troops on Nessus. So once you do that, eventually you'll get, it does take quite a while, they're not a massively common drop. So eventually after a bunch of Cabal on Nessus, you will get the 5 items required. So after that, it's going to progress into the next step, and this is simply to await the World Eater, which again, we know this is the giant Leviathan. So at this point, we're basically waiting for next Wednesday, and this giant creature is going to arrive in our solar system, I guess, and that's when we're going to go take on the raid. And the reason we know this is going to be an exotic raid weapon is because every single exotic weapon quest in Destiny 2 goes into these weapon slots, like the Rat King, the Mida, the Sturm. They all go into weapon slots that correspond to the same category of weapon type they are, whereas this one goes to the heavy. So we know for a fact this is going to be a raid exotic power weapon. So at this point, we're waiting for this thing to arrive. They say something is coming. Look for the arrival of the World Eater. So as well as the raid and Trials of the Nine, there's also going to be some kind of other endgame activity appearing on Tuesday the 26th of September, and this is called Faction Rally. But if you've been to the new tower towards the end of the game, you'll notice the absence, or kind of like semi-absence, of the 3 factions, being New Monarchy, Future Walkout, and Dead Orbit. You can see their presence definitely there, they've got the building set up, but there are no vendors there currently, they're all empty. So the 3 main vendors, who we know are alive by the way, they are not currently in the game. But of course, this means Faction Rally is going to be their introduction, and there's going to be some kind of activity involving them. Now, prior to Destiny 2, we actually knew absolutely nothing about faction rallies. They didn't mention it at all. So this is a complete surprise to everyone. Nobody knows what this is, and all we can really do is speculate about what a faction rally could be. But I'm sure it's going to be something involving with doing activities and representing your faction and trying to get bonus rewards, I'm sure. Now, as a fun fact, there was actually an activity very early on in Destiny 1's development called Faction Wars. Now, this actually was the Crucible. It was another name for the Crucible. It's the same thing. But essentially, back then, the idea was instead of Alpha and Bravo team, you would be on Team Future Walkout or New Monarchy or Seven Seraphs, the initial factions. And then eventually, they'd kind of changed the name to Crucible and made it just simply Alpha and Bravo teams. That is what Faction Wars was. This, however, Faction Rally, appears to be something completely different. So it's probably going to be something similar along the lines. So in case you're wondering, Faction Wars was literally just an early name for Crucible. It's the same thing. However, this thing, Faction Rally, appears to be something bigger and better than what Bungie had wanted to do all along with factions, which is definitely really exciting. So, of course, when we get more details, I'll be sure to let you guys know. But right now, Faction Rally is another in-game activity. So next up, let's talk about DLC. Now, the first expansion for Destiny 2 called Curse of Osiris, this has actually got some new confirmed information through the Xbox Store, and even Bungie's Eric Osborne tweeted saying, Curse of Osiris is not a leak, it's real. So the Curse of Osiris is going to journey your Guardian through new story missions, adventures set in a new destination, Mercury, journey through space and time to learn the secrets of Osiris, avert a dark future, rebuild the ties between the legendary Warlock and his greatest student, Ikora Rey. So this touched on what I mentioned in my previous videos about this DLC, but essentially Osiris used to be what Ikora Rey was, being the Warlock Vanguard, and then Osiris went a bit crazy, started experimenting way too much into the Vex, and then Ikora Rey replaced him, and the Speaker banished him and exiled him from the city. So we're going to be repairing the ties between Ikora and Osiris. But I think one of the most groundbreaking and pretty crazy facts about this expansion is time travel. We're going to go through space and time, meaning we're probably going to go to some crazy Vex dimensions, because of course it's a Vex DLC. And the Kotaku article did mention rescuing Osiris, because apparently he's got himself into a bit of trouble with the Vex. So he's going to be in some kind of Vex dimension, and we're going to travel through space to get him, and also time. So this is really groundbreaking. We're going to be time traveling for the first time in Destiny, possibly meaning we can go back to the tower before it was destroyed, maybe back in the old days when the Speaker and Ikora and Osiris were actually friendly. And the possibilities for this are quite endless, because it could mean a lot of flashbacks, a lot of really cool information to the past and future. Now, it also mentions exploring Mercury and its mysterious infinite forest, new story missions and adventures, new themed weapons, armor, and gear to earn, new co-op activities, new co-op multiplayer arenas, and more. So the big question is if we're going to get a raid in this, but either way, that is all the info we know so far about this expansion. Now, I know it's obviously very early days to be talking about a DLC. I mean, the game just launched a few days ago, but this is just some early provisional info about what to expect in December. And there's Bungie basically laying out a roadmap of what's to come, and having a content roadmap is not a bad thing. Doesn't mean Destiny 2 is doomed, just simply that Bungie is finally giving us lots of content and telling us about it at the same time, which is exactly what the entire community has been asking for the past 2 years. So any news or information about future DLCs or events, I'll be keeping you guys informed. So next up, I wanted to show you guys some pretty incredible things that have been sent to me recently. Firstly, we have a Destiny 2 PS4 Pro in Glacier White. This is from PlayStation UK, which is super kind of them, so huge thanks to the guys over at PlayStation UK. But I've mentioned this multiple times in videos and shown it off as it got announced. This, of course, is the Glacier White version. There's also a matte black version too. But of course, it's awesome to see it finally in person, not just images. Now, of course, also comes with a copy of Destiny 2 itself. Now, I know you guys see me get sent a lot of free stuff like this, and every time I do, I always try and give back to you guys with some free stuff, because of course your support is the reason companies send me things in the first place. So this is a code for the collector's edition content. So one of you that's just got the base version of the game is going to be able to redeem this on the PSN store and get the expansion pass and all the other bonus content too. So I'm sure someone with notifications turned on is going to grab that first. And I'll also put on screen a code for Destiny 2 the full game on PS4, so one of you guys can also redeem that too. Now, something else that just got sent today was also a package from Razer. Now, this is the Destiny 2 lineup of their products. I'm sure you've seen the pictures and announcements of this stuff, but you got the Ornata Chroma keyboard. Now, this is like a weird hybrid between membrane and also mechanical, because it's got the mechanical click, so it's a pretty cool keyboard. I've used it a couple times at events. I went to Gamescom and tried Destiny 2 the beta on it, and it's really weird to feel a keyboard that's mechanical and also membrane, but it's got the same click, like I said. But there you go, that's the Ornata Chroma. You've also got the Death Adder Elite mouse with the Destiny 2 branding, of course, the Man of War headset, which is the Tournament Edition, and the Goliathus mouse mat, which is basically a huge one. But I know these are highly sought after. So again, huge thanks to Razer for sending this over. But there you go, wanted to show off some cool Destiny 2 themed loot that I received recently. But once again, a massive thanks to all of you guys for your continued support on the channel. I know I say it all the time, but every time you like a video or leave a nice comment, or even those of you with notifications turned on that like a video within a second of it going up before you even watched it. But I really appreciate all the support. And of course, we're just getting started with Destiny 2 content. We're going to have the raid and trials, faction wars, more guides, tips, Crucible videos, a ton of stuff on this channel. So if you aren't already subscribed, then make sure you do so. If you enjoyed the video, as always, a like rating is much appreciated. Click the image on screen to watch my video about how to level up and all my tips to do so efficiently. And I'll see you guys in the next one.